Ukrainian forces are pushing back against Russian troops around the capital, Kyiv, and other cities, despite ongoing Russian airstrikes. Debora Patta has more from the Ukrainian capital, and we want to warn our viewers that some of the images you're about to see are graphic.
Body after body pulled from the battlefields of Irpin, the human cost of war lining the road to the capital, and where Russia also suffered crushing losses. The enemy, they're just kids, this soldier says. They're like cannon fodder. But Vladimir Putin is not done fighting, today authorizing the draft of another nearly 135,000 new conscripts. In Mariupol, the promise of humanitarian corridors to evacuate those trapped has yet to materialize. It cannot come soon enough. Ukraine says 90% of residential buildings have been damaged.
So these are all rockets?
That destruction is just from the Russian missiles and rockets that have hit their target. The US estimates up to 60% simply don't work. Every day we get messages from citizens who found unexploded artillery, says rescue worker Yevgeny. This is a controlled explosion. Yevgeny is part of an 11-man team whose job is to extract and destroy unexploded ordnances. We risk our lives all the time, but someone needs to do this job, he tells us. They've been collecting bombs, rockets and banned cluster munitions that have been falling in city centers, backyards and even in this kitchen.
Every one of these rockets that's been found and has not exploded means that lives have been saved.
The horrendous loss of life weighs heavily on Yevgeny, and with this war, he reckons they'll have enough work to keep them busy for 10 years.
So much for Russia's claim it will drastically reduce operations around Kyiv. Today it struck in the heart of the capital, and we can tell you we've been hearing air raid sirens and explosions in the distance throughout the day. Elaine?
Debora Patta, thank you. Anatol Lieven joins me now. He's a senior research fellow on Russia and Europe at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Anatol, welcome. Thanks for being with us. Earlier this week, you wrote about Russia's military losses in Ukraine. What do you think has gone wrong for the Kremlin?
Oh, well, just about everything. They totally underestimated the strength and determination of the Ukrainian resistance. As a result, they deployed far too few troops for the purpose. They spread those troops on far too wide a front. They attacked a country of more than 230,000 square miles from 6 different directions. And above all, they expected, clearly, the Ukrainian government to crumble and either submit to Russia or to run away, and that this would be an easy victory. So they made every mistake in the book, I think.
So a lot of people have asked this question, and I'm curious what your assessment is on this. What do you believe Vladimir Putin's endgame is in Ukraine?
Well, I think it's changed. It's pretty clear that, when he launched the war, he was expecting that the Ukrainian government would basically submit to Russian demands and, either become a Russian client or be replaced by Russia. Well, that obviously didn't happen. And the latest Russian announcement that they are reducing their attacks around Kyiv, pulling back from there to some extent at least, is, as they themselves have said, to concentrate on conquering the eastern region of the Donbass, which Russia has recognized as separate from Ukraine, the two separatist republics of Donetsk and Lugansk. But has not actually, in almost 6 weeks of war, Russia has not managed to actually conquer and occupy that whole region. So that is now the Russian objective. And when they have achieved that, which probably they can, although at the cost of many, many more casualties, it is possible that they will in fact stop and offer a ceasefire, of course, offer a peace settlement on Russian terms, because their losses, by all accounts, have been enormous.
Well, in the meantime, the White House says, as you know, that Putin has been misinformed about military progress by his advisors, which has led to tensions between Putin and his military leadership. What does it mean for the morale and trust in leadership for the Russian soldiers?
Well, there are clear indications that morale is low. One of them, also, of course, an indication of heavy casualties, is that it appears that 8 Russian generals have been killed so far in this war. At least Ukrainians have alleged that, and the Russians have not produced the generals to deny it. Well, in modern war, generals only behave that way if their troops, are suffering from really serious morale problems and have to be led from the front. Yes, I think there probably are tensions between Putin and the generals. But of course, in many ways, Putin only has himself to blame because it's pretty clear that he isolated himself and his, inner coterie from outside and independent advice. Not that this is unique to Russia. One has to admit the Bush administration did much the same in the run-up to the Iraq war. But of course, Russia, as an autocracy, has a much worse version of this autocratic tendency.
Well, Russia's economy has taken a hit due to sanctions from the U.S. and its allies. Could a worsening economic crisis force Russian elites to question their loyalty to Putin?
The inner Russian elite around Putin is so closely tied to him and so implicated, in the decision to launch this disastrous war, that it would be very difficult, I think, for them to turn against him. Basically, the whole lot of them would have to be replaced. And the wider Russian elites, although some of them are clearly, very unhappy with the war, do not have the unity or the institutions, to act in that way. To remove Putin. And also, so far, the war has, and of course, rigid state control of the media, has brought about a surge in popularity for Putin and the government, according to opinion polls that have been regarded as reliable in the past. Now, of course, that could change as economic suffering really begins to bite. And change as more and more Russian conscript soldiers end up being killed. But that, I think, will take probably some considerable time to take effect.
All right, to be continued. Anatol Lieven. Anatol, thanks for sharing your perspective with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.